people know I advocate loudly for quality of life and patient-reported outcomes. I do recognize that you don't learn about patient-reported outcomes in medical school, or your degree doesn't depend on it. So, a lot of times researchers are expected and investigators to go out and figure it out on their own, and it's not easy. I think we need to do a better job with helping them with, it's not just incorporating the PROs. What is your question? What question are you trying to answer? Like COCOON, will this, reduce the toxicities and improve quality of life? That was the question. And then make sure you choose the right measurement tools, because you don't want to burden the patient either. And so I think, a lot of times people need help with that, and that's okay, but they are absolutely critical, because even if you're doing a trial where, I don't like the word non-inferiority, because if it costs less or patients have a better quality of life, then it's inferior. I mean, superior, not, But even in those trials and looking at overall survival, it is important to have PROs, because if a patient's quality of life is better, that is superior. So, we have to change the way we think about trials. We have to get away from the way they are always conducted. And randomized controlled trials, I understand, they are the gold standard and they're very important. But we also know life is different in routine clinic. So, really incorporating patient-important outcomes, patient-reported important outcomes, is critical. And I think following people longitudinally, because patients now are on multiple lines of treatment, but no one is controlling for the compound cumulative effects of multiple lines of treatment. So I think we have to do a better job of seeing the forest for the trees and not just looking at that first line. I'd love to see that. And I commend J&J for recognizing this challenge early on, developing this trial, and I hope that other companies will consider it, and I hope that people will see this data, understand why it's important, and there'll be more of a focus, because patients don't experience survival separately from side effects, impact, or quality of life. Neither should really the research, and neither should the care. It should all be part of cancer care. So that's what I hope to see in the future. Change and progress doesn't happen overnight. But I always say, recently I gave a talk at AACR on survivorship, but also on PROs. And when I was really thinking about it, what became my thought, if we're not measuring what matters to patients and families, we're not only missing data, we're missing the point. Totally, right? So that, and also everybody loses. Researchers lose data, clinicians lose insight, and most importantly, patients suffer. So really, to be patient-centered, we need to center the research around patients, not endpoints. So that's really what I hope to see moving forward. I do think that having patient advocates at ASCO is critical. And we need to see more patient advocates at ASCO. We need to see more patient advocates really on panels or speaking. And I know it's not easy and it's not a comfortable shift, but when I sit there at the plenary, you know, at a plenary, it goes almost full circle. You know, you start out on what the data is, right? Then you go into, you know, the phases of trial, and you do present the data on the phase 3 trial. And then the PI presents the data on the phase 3 trial. And then a discussant gets up there and they talk about what does this mean in a clinical setting, and they use a case study. That's great, but what does that mean to routine patients, to patients in routine clinic? I think that's great. You're showing most of the story, but you're missing the most important part, and that is the impact on the patient. So what they're showing is the efficacy, but progress doesn't mean success, and efficacy doesn't mean it's effective. So I think, you know, what I would love to see is, you know, you're going from basic research, translational, clinical, what it means in the clinical setting, and then a patient to get up there and be proof of why this drug is important and the hope that it provides. And it's okay, even some of the challenges for the oncologists who are sitting in the audience, what are some of the challenges to look for in your patients? Because when they're presenting and words like tolerable, manageable, acceptable are used, they get this perception in their mind and they take it back to clinic. And when those words are used, I want to say, to whom? You know, have you experienced it? They're talking about safety, right? And hopefully we can change those words. But again, like COCOON, if they understood the challenges up front, maybe they would be more proactive in mitigating them up front. So my ultimate goal is to see a patient up there for 5 minutes in the plenary